everyone. My name is Kurt Bachman, and welcome back to The Ultimate Dish. Today, we are thrilled to welcome back Curtis Duffy, world-renowned, James Beard Award-winning, Michelin-starred chef, and now published author. Chef Curtis's journey from the chaos of rural Ohio to the pinnacle of fine dining reads like something out of a novel, which is exactly why he's written one. His new memoir, Fireproof, chronicles an extraordinary rise through some of the world's most prestigious kitchens, all while navigating unimaginable personal tragedy. Raised in Ohio by an outlaw biker father, Curtis first found refuge in a high school home economics class before moving to Chicago to work for legendary chef Charlie Trotter. He became chef de cuisine at Alinea, earning 2 Michelin stars as head chef at Avenues, and later opened Grace Restaurant, which earned 3 Michelin stars 4 years in a row, a feat that solidified his place among the world's greatest culinary artists. After walking away from Grace in a heartbreaking act of defiance, Curtis created Ever Restaurant, which earned 2 Michelin stars from 2021 to 2024, even after a launch nearly derailed by the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2024, he was ranked one of the 50 most powerful people in American fine dining by the Robb Report. Chef Curtis has also been featured in Netflix documentary For Grace and FX's hit series The Bear. He sits on the Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts Advisory Board, where his scholarship in his name has been awarded. Get ready for a raw, honest conversation about resilience, ambition, and what it truly means to be fireproof in both the kitchen and in life. And there he is. How are you, Chef?
I'm great. How are you? Nice to
What
see
an
you again.
intro. What an
I
intro
mean,
there,
I
right?
don't even know how to live up to that. That's pretty that's pretty incredible. Thank
It
you.
is. It's
Um,
that's your story. And boy,
Unreal.
I'm first of all, congratulations on all the success. It's so good to see you. And what people don't know is that on the occasion that I have to be in Chicago and I pop into the restaurant and I go over to the bar after, and maybe it's 11:30 or 11:45. Sorry, mom. Yep, I'm out late. And guess who's there? Guess who's there to greet me? Chef Curtis Duffy. He's there. This is your
Yes,
third
sir.
time on the show on The Ultimate Dish. We can't keep you away, or we can't stay away.
Well, I'm honored to
Um,
be back. So thank you very much for having me again. It's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll dive into the memoir. I've got stacks all around my office. So excited. So excited for you. I just got it. So I'm flying to Chicago tonight. So I'm going to try to get through most of it. And then we're going to welcome you to Boulder in a couple of weeks. But
Beautiful.
before we
Beautiful.
dive in, how's it going? How's the summer, the travel, the restaurant business, city of Chicago? How's everything
Good.
going?
City is finally warmed up. We are pushing, 80s and 90s, which is great. That's my type of weather. And yeah, the restaurant scene's booming, busy, busy, busy. Um, Cocktail lounge is doing great after. Just busy. Neighborhood's growing. We're got some construction across the street, which is fantastic. Going to be great for the neighborhood. And
That's
yeah, we're
so
just
great.
looking forward for the development.
That's so great. Well, to dive right in, I've read so many headlines, but this one in particular from Peter Blauner, the New York Times bestselling author. He says Chef Curtis Duffy's Fireproof is like Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential meets Sons of Anarchy. First of all, wow, what a comparison, what a compliment. And I don't know, in many ways it sounds perfect. How do you feel about that comparison?
I mean, I think he nailed it exactly right. I couldn't have said it any better. I think it fits amazingly. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the elevator speech? Tell us about Fireproof. I'm going to peel it apart here, but in your words, tell us about Fireproof.
Yeah, I mean, Fireproof for me is really it scratches. Well, I guess I should rewind. When we released For Grace, it kind of just scratched the surface of everything, and then also it scratched the surface of not enough information out there. And I wanted to write a memoir that kind of invoked a lot of childhood stories, good and bad, and tell my story from my view.
Hmm.
And as For Grace did, it was also told not so much from me. So I wanted to have that voice. I wanted something that my daughters could read. I wanted something, to help create and maybe solidify a little bit of legacy for myself, and something that I would be really proud of. And also the cathartic side of it as well was a big important factor for me.
Yeah, yeah. You sort of described, these are my words, and in the book, um, as a complete dive into your entire life, to your point, from birth to to where you are today and the ins and the outs. And you've kind of mentioned, I've read that For Grace just, in many ways barely skimmed the surface, right? You're just getting
Yeah, yeah,
started. And this is more of a no holds barred moment. And I think I read no sugarcoating, which is great. It's raw, right?
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I love the idea of writing a memoir or anything, for your family, for your kids, for your daughters. Um, is there a specific reason why now was the perfect time to write it?
Well, I don't think there ever was going to be a perfect time. Jeremy asked me that same question. Jeremy asked me when I went to him to ask him if he'd be interested in writing a memoir for me. And his first comment was, "Why now? You're so young. Don't you want to do it when you're older, like Keith Richards, or maybe something a little bit older than 45?" And I said, "No." I said, "It's the right time." That Well, I actually felt, I don't know if it was the right time. It was the right time in the sense that he's a great friend of mine. I have an endearing relationship with him, and I trusted his voice. I loved his other books that he's written, and I knew that for me to be able to tell these stories that I wanted to kind of get off my chest, or to kind of essentially let go, I needed somebody that I could fully trust, and that would tell my story, pure honesty, brutal, and again, like, we didn't sugarcoat anything, and that was incredibly important to me. So I don't think I could have given what I gave to that book if it was a complete stranger. Honestly, it would just, I give all my thanks to Jeremy, because I the full trust in his ability and friendship to let me do this.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's great.
thankful he said yes. I am be delighted to write the book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a great answer. He's got to be super proud. Trust is, gosh, it's just so important in everything we do, right? Um,
Absolutely.
I love that you found, and this goes back a ways, your first refuge, if you will, in a home ec class. And you've said it quite literally. It fed you because you didn't have the money for school lunches back then.
Yeah.
So chef, for the many culinary students that'll listen to our chat, that is such a powerful reminder that passion can spark anywhere, right? And
Oh
anytime,
yeah,
any
100%.
place, even in the most desperate of circumstances, I guess I could say. What was it like, if you don't mind sharing, to share the darker details of your life with your family, about your family, with the rest of the world? And even though Jeremy's helping, was it difficult to relive some of those memories even through Jeremy?
Yeah, a lot of it is, well, all of it is digging into your past, and how much have you forgotten? How much have you buried? And how much are you willing to let go? And
Hmm.
even through the 30 years of since the tragedy has happened, in the 30 years of, dealing with just that one incident, there's a whole lifetime before that, that there was a lot of dark and ugly things that I needed to bring to surface and to light, if you will, because that was my way of dealing with a lot of those things. They It was so easy just to push them aside, not deal with them, sweep them under the rug, if you will. But in some way, somehow, they always come back to haunt you,
Hmm.
and it's the most unexpected time and place, and the most inconvenient time and place, first and foremost, when those moments do come about. So it was about, just really letting go. And it was a way for me to let go, was to get my words, my thoughts on paper, to then be able to, if you will, put it back on the shelf and just, it's a resting place, if you will. More than anything, it's just a resting place. It's a resting place for my daughters to pick up one day, my kids to pick up one day, and maybe their future kids pick up one day and try to understand a little bit more about my life.
Yeah, legacy in many ways. You've
Yeah,
said you've said, and I quote, fireproof is about resilience. It's about surviving things that most people wouldn't come back from and
yeah,
still choosing to grow, to live and to love. Beautiful. So the title itself, where does that come from you? Was that a collaboration or did it just make
yeah.
sense right away?
I mean, it made sense. Jeremy and I, it made sense. I had to think about it. Actually, to be honest, I had to think about that title for a while. I was
Uh-huh.
more concerned about people reading the title thinking that it had to do something with, being a fireman or firefighter.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
really dawn on me until we gave it more thought and more explanation behind it. That, yeah, it makes total sense. My life, it is about being fireproof. It's about, you know, it is the resilience of going through the things that I went through, and how do you bounce back from it? How do you keep going? How do you get that drive and that fire within you to kind of stand back up and keep pushing forward? Because it's so easy just to go the other way. That's the easiest way, is to just, but a lot of people say you got two paths in life and you can go this way or this way. And it's so easy to go down the wrong path.
Sure. Yeah.
It's so much harder to go down the right path and to do the right things. And that's what I chose.
And particularly in your situation, because there's a lot of eyes on you, right?
Yeah,
Throughout your career, waiting to see which path you take, right?
yeah, yeah.
It'd be really interesting to, I kind of entitled this "Breaking the Family Curse," right? Let's, if we can, let's dive into what I view as the heart of your story. This idea of being just motivated, set on leaving Ohio and breaking that Duffy family curse, if you will.
Hmm.
You've been incredibly candid about the trauma that shaped you. And because the book is new, many haven't read it yet. For those who haven't read it, I'll be done by tomorrow morning. Can you tell us a little bit about your parents and what happened and maybe how the loss of your parents impacted you and maybe even changed your worldview? It's a big question. I apologize, but
Yeah. Well, let's just start with, I guess, the parent side of it. When I was 18, I was fresh out of high school, starting my career, or starting my journey into college. And I had just, I was maybe 2 months into college, a couple of months into having my own apartment. And my father and mother were separated. My mother was trying to push for the divorce. My father certainly didn't want it. He was still in love with my mother. And it was on their wedding day where my father tried to make one last attempt, if you will, to kind of reconcile everything and try to bring the family back together. It was very important for him to have that family structure. And it wasn't happening. I mean, my mother had moved on long before and was just ready to be done with the whole situation. So my father took my mother at gunpoint, hostage in the middle of the afternoon, grabbed her by her hair, um, put her into this car that he had kind of makeshift into, I guess, in a way that you couldn't get out. Once you're in, you're out. You can't get out. Yeah, the door handles didn't work. The At the time, the handles to roll down the windows didn't work. The locks were removed. Only way to get out was the driver's side door. And he drove her to the house, where we were living at the time. I guess where they were living at the time, but as of course they separated. But it's where my father was living. Inside that house, he had completely barricaded all the windows, the doors, everything shut. So this was pre-planned, of course, and he put himself in a position in that house where he couldn't be seen from any outside person, police officer, SWAT team, whatever you want to call him, sniper. And yeah, it turned into about a 10 hour standoff, and which ended in a murder suicide about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
And thank you, Curtis. I know it's difficult. Your transparency and genuine sharing is so
Absolutely.
appreciated. And what strikes me is, and I've known you for a long time now. It's what strikes me is how you've channeled that devastation into determination. You've talked about your parents' work ethic, saying, ironically, my parents, we didn't have an easy life, but they worked hard, multiple jobs, nonstop. That work ethic, that determination got passed on to you, and you knew
Yeah.
you wanted more, and you saw what you didn't want, and that was enough to push you forward. Um, you've said summoning extraordinary fortitude, and that you ate pain to graduate culinary school, make the Charlie Trotters, and which at the time, by the way, was like the Harvard of fine dining, if you will.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Um, God, there's just so much that I want to ask, and if we think about the previous restaurants and the different places that you've worked, chef, that have had a big impact on your career, is there a way to tie it back to the story that you just shared with us and how that determination was just
Yeah.
in you?
Yeah. The beauty of this whole thing is that through the upbringing of my childhood, I guess the beauty what lies in that is I was able to observe as a young child, like the work ethic of my parents, the
Hmm.
the daily discipline and grind that they had every day to wake up, three kids to feed, go to work, multiple jobs, and still provide a little bit for the family, and do that every single day with, they weren't people who had careers, if you will. My father
Hmm.
wasn't. He was kind of everywhere. He loved tattooing. He loved mechanics. He loved building cars. He loves fast motorcycles. He worked for my grandfather as a manager of his retread tire shop. My mother was a clerk at 7-Eleven, a butcher for Kroger's. Never really like had a career, nothing like I have, or say a lot of people today have, you know. So to see them get up and go from job to job and are, they're always gone. They were always gone as a young child. I guess that instilled a lot of great things in me without me even knowing, obviously. But I guess the beauty of it is watching that unfold, and how to, for me, it was about applying that to my personal life. That's, I guess, you do what you're taught. That's what I learned as a young kid, was to work hard, to grind it out. There wasn't days off, there wasn't calling off sick. It was just that intense moment of just work. I was just lucky enough that I found cooking, and I found that I loved it so much that I could turn this into something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I
Such good
certainly did.
advice. Such good advice
Yeah.
for students. Are there are there some other individuals, chefs maybe, other friends that you've worked with over the years that have also had a really great impact on your life?
Yeah. I mean, so many people that I come in contact with: John Souza, Regan Coivisto, both, another gentleman named Ken Wilcox. These are all three gentlemen that I worked with my earlier career in Columbus that had a huge impact on who I am today. Then moving to Chicago, of course, Charlie Trotter and Grant Achatz uh, instilled a lot of great things in how I manage today, how I lead the kitchen, how I run the restaurants. And, if we fast forward to the time at Grace when we had to close, I don't think of it so much as a huge loss to me. It was a tremendous learning curve for me. And I think everything happens for a reason in life. I even think, like, my parents passing away, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why it happened. And it wasn't until a few weeks ago when, Kim Severson from the New York Times, we were having conversation on the side of the street as she was interviewing me. And I quite wonder why things happened the way it did. I always ask myself, like, would I be where I am today if they were still alive? And I think her answer was the most perfect answer I've ever heard, which was it was their last gift to you.
Oh,
And for me, like, we stood there not really knowing each other that well, and a small tear, we started crying a little bit about what she said. She gave me that answer. She gave me something that I was looking for so long, which was so important to me.
that's absolutely beautiful.
It was
I'm
pretty
so
pretty
happy
amazing.
happy that you shared that. It's interesting. I was just going to mention real quick when you were talking about that. I watched an episode a few weeks ago when you were down on the farm with Farmer Lee, and
Yeah,
um, there's just something about the two of you walking through a field. I've seen you together in person as well. It's beautiful to see that kind of comfort, and I know he admires you, and I know that you have a beautiful friendship that you appreciate as well. I just
yeah,
wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Such appreciation, for our students um, and even staff who might be dealing with their own challenges. It could be financial, it could be family, it could be personal. Your story shows that sometimes, again, the greatest obstacles can be our greatest fuel or gift. I'm going to use that word instead. But the intensity of our industry, as we both know, can be overwhelming at times. How do you balance the day to day, call it stressors of your personal life, your past, and the actual business? And like I said at the beginning when we first saw each other today, you're there a lot. You are
yeah,
working a lot. That hasn't
yeah.
changed.
No. I got to be honest with you. Anything, I guess, what I've said in the past is something that I've always strived for is to find that balance, right? If you search back a- any article, it's like a lot of that question comes up a lot in our industry is how do you
Hmm.
balance, personal, professional, kids, dogs, and things you want to do. And I've always said that is the ultimate goal, is to find that balance. But as I get older and as I think about it even more, that word balance to me, what does it really mean? What are we trying to say when we say we want balance? For me, balance is something that's stable, stability, and without movement is kind of what I take from that word balance. And I've kind of accepted the fact that I don't need balance in my life. What I need is the ability to be malleable. I need to be able to do the things that I want to do when they're important to me and do them and focus on that. So, for instance, my wife and I live between Miami and Chicago. And what is so important to me is when we're together, we're together. It's it's quality over quantity. So I know I need to be able to put my energy where it's needed, when it's needed, and I need to be able to not focus so much over here when I need to focus over here. So that's my balance. It's being able to be nimble enough to kind of move around and be
I,
able to
I
juggle all these things at once.
I just absolutely love the honesty of that answer. That that is a very truthful answer. I wrote most of it down because that's going to be my answer to Gretchen going forward.
Tell her
Because
I said hi, will you?
the other
So
answer is just a cachet, right? It's just
yeah,
not truthful. I
it's
love
not.
that answer,
It's not at
and
all.
to focus on what's important. That is
If
so
it's the
key.
kids at the time, then it's the kids.
Yeah,
If it's
yeah.
work, it's work. If it's my wife, it's my wife. And we all, we just have to be that way. That's the way it is in 2025.
And right now, at this moment, you're the most important thing to me. So I'm going to focus only on you,
Thank
only
you.
on you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Let's,
exactly. Like,
I want to talk a little bit about your rise, um, walking away, Michelin stars, all of that. But, there was a time Trotter's kitchen was just, I mean, you and Grant and Graham Elliott and Amaro. a very good friend of mine. You staged at the French Laundry. You worked your way up at Alinea Avenues, where you earned your first two Michelin stars, and then came Grace, three Michelin stars, 4 years in a row. And I had the good fortune of seeing you there a few times. That's
Hmm.
culinary immortality. But then you did something that shocked the industry and a lot of people. You walked away after some disputes. I think you
Yep.
called it a heartbreaking act of defiance. I'm just curious again for students and those listening, what have you taken away? I know you've learned a lot, but what have you taken away from, you know, Grace going away, pursuing new restaurant ventures ever and after, um, and Rev, the burger restaurant during the pandemic
Uh-huh.
and such. I'm just curious from a learning perspective, what can we share with students today?
Well, I think the ability to fail is a huge lesson, and the ability to accept failure is also another lesson because nobody likes to fail, but it's so, so, so important that we all fail at the things that we do and the things that we achieve, we try to do, because without failure, you're not taking the risks. You're not trying to push the boundaries. You're not trying to push the excellence or the commitment to oneself, right? It's for me, like, walking away from Grace was the hardest decision probably that I had ever made, but it was probably the best decision I've ever made. I'm in such a better place because of it, but I look back and I look at all of the things that we achieved and the things that we set out to achieve, and we achieved a tremendous amount, and that's not easy for me to say because I don't like talking about myself. I want to let somebody else say that, but we did achieve a lot of great things there, and I am incredibly proud of what we did there. But it would have been so much easier for me to just, after walking away, go and do something less demanding, less, I guess, less of a restaurant that wasn't committed me being there every single day and still be successful. I mean, Ever is another restaurant, as Grace was, where I'm expected to be here. Guests are expected to see me. I'm expected to create. I'm expected to keep this restaurant moving forward. And that's a lot to put on somebody's shoulders, which is fine. I'm excited to do that. But it could have been easier for me to just walk away and do something else, less ambitious. A pizza restaurant, something less, more casual, high end, high volume, if you will, and just, take the check in the back and not, I don't need to be here. My name's not on the door. But that's the other path in life where that's the easy side, right? That's the easy way of doing it. For me, I wasn't finished telling my story. I had a lot more to give to the food and wine world, a lot more to prove to myself, a lot more to you know, make my family proud, I guess at the end of the day. I wanted to be great. I want to be great at something. And this was my one and only shot, which is here, which is the restaurant world, and I have to give it my all. I wasn't done giving it my all.
Such a great answer. Such a great answer. And I love the word pride. You you rebuild with effort with ever. COVID hits as you're
Yeah.
launching, but you still earn a couple of Michelin stars for 3 years in a row. And you've mentioned, I have to remind you of this because so we're at Grace one night and I can't remember if Michelle Escoffier was with us. I know Jack was, and it was after service. It was beautiful. It was great. And you and I were just kind of standing in the hallway outside of the kitchen talking. And, me and my big mouth, I'm like, hey, chef, do you sometimes, let some of your commies in the kitchen sort of create the dish that you're going to serve? And you just look at me and you're like, no.
No.
But I
No.
love that. I mean, I know that you've mentioned that during service you'll challenge your staff, right, to plate dishes more quickly and with
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
finesse than you. They never win, right? The challenge is to beat you. I love that. I love that. Um, how would you describe your approach? And then I'm going to ask you how you want others to approach you, but what's your approach to creating a new dish, your dish?
Yeah, well, it starts immediately with the ingredients, whatever's in season. Let's just pick, I don't know,
Farmer would love that.
you pick an ingredient and then I'll walk through the, if you want to pick something, you want to pick like a vegetable or something,
Yeah, eggplant.
eggplant. So if we're saying, all right, let's get eggplant, this is what we want, we would reach out to farmer or any of our local farmers here and see what they're growing, see what's in season, how many different varieties we can get. So it kind of starts there. Then it's like, all right, what do we want to do with the eggplant? Maybe we had an eggplant dish on last year. We certainly don't want to repeat it. So what are we going to do with it this year? And if that's not the case, and maybe it's something we haven't used in a very long time, then we don't have to worry about what we did last year because I couldn't remember what we did 5 years ago. Then it's like, all right, that if that's the main focus, what are the three other flavor profiles that we're trying to attach it to, that we think go well with eggplant? So one might say fish sauce, black garlic, and I don't know, strawberries. So let's just say those three flavors. Then it's like, all right, now let's start taking those apart. Well, we take apart the eggplant. How are we going to cook it? How many different variations of this eggplant can we achieve? How many different parts of the plant can we use other than just the fruit itself? Can we use the leaves? Can we use the stems? Can we use the root? Has anybody done this before? You know, then we do some research there. Then we do the same approach with the garlic and strawberries and fish sauce. We create, we jot down, we conceptualize on paper. Then we put all those into motion. We put it all into, let's get in the kitchen, we cook it. And then it never turns out the way it looks on paper or taste. And then it's just about from that point, that's probably the most critical part is where does it stand after we tapped into what we think it should taste like. And then we go from there. Then we just start tweaking. We either take away or we add to each element, you know. But what's important with the conceptualization part is there's not any more flavor developed after those three flavors. I guess we're not introducing another. If we say we need to add something to it, we're not adding another. Now we're not reaching for ginger. We're not doing that. We're like
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
stay focused in those three elements, but how can we extract what we need from those three elements?
That's 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 the key right there. That in when you're saying that, chef, I'm thinking to myself, you're in a weird sort of way, almost serendipitous way, you're keeping it simple, right?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, one, you gotta, as a chef, I think you have that responsibility to give the guests something that's unique and different, but you also have to have them connected to the dish. There's got to be a sense of familiarity to it as well. You
Yes,
can't take them
yes, yep.
so far down this path that it doesn't make sense because they have no idea what they're eating. Then they're
Yeah.
going to be completely lost. But if you could put them in a realm that they are familiar with the flavor profiles, but you're giving them something differently, and maybe in terms of texture or just an idea alone, like strawberries and eggplant, that so seems so crazy. And it probably does. It probably seems bizarre, but
But I love that. I think I always think of that scene in Ratatouille when when the critic gets that ratatouille and it takes him all the way back to childhood, right? And
yeah, yeah,
that's a
exactly.
beautiful thing. I was going to ask you next, what's the perfect meal? But I think a better question is, and I'll set the tone. I can remember being um, at Ever with Gretchen and her good friend Shannon, and we had such a lovely time. But what was amazing was the not the unpredictability, but also we wanted for nothing. We we
Mm.
things were just happening as we thought. Maybe you reach for a new glass of wine and there is a new glass of wine, and you're reaching for something sweet and something sweet showed up. It was this perfect dining experience, which is really 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 hard at this point. And I don't want you to give away all your secrets, but in your mind, If you're with your wife and you're in Miami and you want to go have a, a beautiful evening, what is a perfect dining experience for you and your wife, for you and your family?
Yeah. Well, I think it's for me, it's very simple. I'm not venturing out as much anymore to explore these. Um, I'm not in the search for the perfect meal. I think I'm more in search in the perfect company
Mhm.
and the perfect time. I think that refers back to my balance moment. It's like I want to have that evening with my family, but I want the interaction to be perfect and not so much the atmosphere, if that makes sense. Because I long for those moments that all four kids are together and my wife and I are together and we're able to, those are far in between each other, and I miss having those moments. So yeah, I think for me it is about having those moments. It's not even about the perfect meal anymore. I mean, I would love it could be over a beautiful pizza. It could be over um, something that the kids pick out. They're really into Thai food right now, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
So it could be a great meal like that. For me, yeah, it's just about the company at this point.
Yeah, yeah, that's the right
Yeah.
answer. That's the right answer. What do you love about the Chicago food scene?
Oh, right now, wow. That's a great question because unfortunately, I'm not out enough into the community to see what is going on. I hear great things. Um, I just don't get out enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's
I,
positive. We hear a lot. There's diversity. There's great ethnic options,
yeah.
and people are excited about it. And you're a big part of that. And it wasn't always like that in Chicago.
Yeah, I love that, Dylan Trotter is coming back, trying to
Yeah,
resurrect his father's restaurant. I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful contribute to, trying to live out, Charlie's vision of what that restaurant was. The space is beautiful.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really hope he nails that. I have huge faith in Dylan to execute that properly.
He's a really exciting, young person. He was on the show and just is so full of, life and love for his father and his memory and all of that. I have to ask, being from Chicago myself and, being involved um, with a studio, a film studio right there in
Uh-huh.
River North, and having run a school right down on the other side, we call it Mr. Beef. FX calls it the Bear.
Yeah,
um, I some really, really, really great episodes that you were featured, and is it just unbelievably surreal to see your world that you built, that you dreamed of, reflected in pop culture in such a positive way?
I know. We're incredibly lucky to be a part of that series. I mean, what a what a special moment in time that we're in, watching them execute like probably the highest level of, what a chef is actually doing on day to day. Like they just nail it so good. And just to be a small glimpse in that, we're completely honored to be a part of that. I mean, it's pretty
No, it's
special.
the fork episode. I don't want to give anything away. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
so
I get
amazing. It
I
really
get
is.
chills, right? When I think
They did
about it,
such a
right?
great job.
Yeah, yeah. It's Can I tell you a really
I
funny
love
story?
what I love with that episode, and I won't give it away either, but love Richie's character in that episode because
Oh gosh.
that is so true to so many cooks that I see that, and I say this a lot, and I've said this for so many years, like it's not an on-off switch. Being a chef is not just, okay, I show up to work and I turn the switch on, now I'm a chef, and I leave out the back door and now I'm not. Now I'm just Curtis. No, it is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that episode does so well with shaping his character into it is a lifestyle. Like you see him in the beginning, hating waking up so early and just like, and then at the very end, he's waking up before the alarm clock. And it's just like, that's what the restaurant industry, a good restaurant industry, a good restaurant will do to you. Sorry, not the industry, but a good teacher, a good leader, a good mentor.
Yeah,
That's where
yeah,
that comes
yeah.
from. It's pretty amazing.
Can I have to tell you a funny related story. I was we were in town for a family member's graduation from nursing school, and we were staying at a hotel in the city, and I don't know where the family was, but I was walking back into the hotel. I look over to the fireplace in the lobby, and Jamie Lee Curtis is sitting over there. So I'm like, "All right, what are you going to do, Bachman? What are you going to do?" So of course, I just
Yeah, you
walk
gotta go
right
say hi.
over, and she was so sweet and so beautiful and so funny. And Chef, all I could keep talking about was Freaky Friday. I kept going, "You're so great in Freaky Friday. Oh my God, my wife loves Freaky Friday." And
Oh,
she's
that's
like,
amazing.
I'm here to film the last two seasons of The Bear, right? I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're great in that." But Freaky Friday
Yeah. Let's
I
not forget about Halloween. I
and
mean,
Halloween, True
legendary.
Lies, all of it, right? I
Yeah.
think I think I humored her a little bit, but she probably had enough of me by the time she left. But
That's
so
amazing.
if I can shift a little bit to our students, you've asked young people who come through your doors, are you here because you really love it? Are you here because you're passionate about it? And not because you think you're going to achieve glory. That is a really, really powerful statement. And no matter how you say it, it has to
Yeah.
be said. It has to be said.
Yeah.
What sort of advice do you give to, the next Curtis Duffy?
Well, it is. Well, you nail it with that because it is about that. We have these young men and women come in to Ever or After or, many restaurants that we've been a part of that have a different outlook or a different thought of what it's gonna be.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
they see it from the outside as this beautiful, spaceship that has all these bells and whistles and it's does all these magical things. But at the end of the day, it is a business and it needs to be ran as a business. And that business is a hard business to run. And it's long hours inside. And that's why we encourage everybody that we're hiring is that they come and do a stage with us. So we want them to feel what it feels like after a full work week, not just 2 days, because anybody can really do that. It's really, how do you feel after a week's worth of what we do here? And
Yeah.
then, is it still that glamorous thing that you thought it was going to be? And, I encourage the young guys when they think that they want to get into the business to do the same. Guy, go work at a restaurant. Go see if you really love it. Because if you don't, then there's something out there that you're gonna love. It might not be in the restaurant industry and it's not built for everyone. And you might love my restaurant and be very successful, but go down the street with ambitions of being successful there too and fall miserably on your face. But it really is about finding that passion. It's about finding that connection to the restaurant as well and that love for what you do. And can you do this? If they didn't pay you at all, could you do this? Would you do this for the rest of your life if they didn't pay you? That's something you got to ask yourself because the pay's not great. We know that. We're working on that. I think everybody's working on that. But can could you pick up a guitar and play the guitar for the rest of your life, like you had to, with
That's a
with
good analogy because we sometimes just get stuck in our industry, but it's really great advice for parenting. It's great advice for, someone who wants to be a carpenter or a financier or or a musician, right?
yeah, like there's part. I mean, you're gonna find in anything that you do in life, you're gonna hate parts of it. You're gonna hate parts of it. Like it's not fun, and it's not meant to be all joyful. But you still got to do it like you love it. you know, Even the bad parts, even the parts that, I don't like sitting behind a desk and doing the paperwork and some of the things that I have to do as a chef. But guess what? That's part of the job. You got to do through it and you got to do it like you love it. And you got to put the same amount of passion into the paperwork as you do creating a dish. And that's something we've always stood upon, which was, everything is of equal importance at the restaurant, whether it's cleaning dishes, serving food, pouring wine, creating a menu, everything is of equal importance. And the moment you let any of those slide, nothing is, it's not balanced anymore, and it needs to be balanced. It needs to be able to hold itself up.
Like a dish. I love the concept of equal importance. My son gets, he's a sophomore in high school playing baseball, and sometimes depending on the team we're playing, the coach, he'll bat third or he'll bat sixth. He doesn't want to bat sixth. He wants to bat third,
Yeah,
but they're all of equal importance, right? So I
absolutely. There's a
I
reason
love that.
why he's putting him at sixth.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
There's it's a beautiful conversation, and for me, and I know our listeners, there's something just really deeply moving about your journey, chef, from that chaotic childhood to where you are today, living between Chicago and Miami with your beautiful wife Jennifer and your children. If your parents could see you now, what would they think, or what would they say?
Thank you for that. That's very touching. Um, I would hope that they're incredibly proud of what I've achieved and what I've, I guess, built. And I I hope that they would think that I'm a incredible father and husband.
Mhm.
Um, and that was raised, you know, I know I was raised in a way to make me who I am today. And that, I have to let that past go, because I know it's not all good. And I don't think I would be who I am today if wasn't raised that way. I have a internal fire that burns like nothing else. And, it's because of them. It's because of the way I was raised. So I would hope that they see that, and that they gave that to me, and that, they're proud of what I did with it, as opposed to what I didn't do with it, you know.
They'd be very proud, chef.
Yeah,
Very,
I hope
very
so.
proud. What do you,
I
what do
think so.
you,
I think so.
I know so. What do you hope people get out of reading Fireproof?
Well, I hope they take something. I hope it's a learning curve for them. I hope it's able to help them in a way that, if they're going through something currently, if they're going through something that they've been meaning to go through and they need to deal with it, I hope something in that book can give them a glimpse of light, and letting them know that you can make it through, you will make it through, but you have to be willing to put in the work too. It doesn't just happen. You have to put the work in.
Yeah.
And well, with this book, I put in a tremendous amount of work, but I also, outside of the book, before I even wanted to write it, I put in a tremendous amount of work. And if my wife was sitting here, she would say, yeah, from the time she met me to who I am today, I've changed tremendous amount in my life for the better. And a lot of it has to do with me recognizing the issues, and things that were making who I am, and I had to change them. And I had to change those. I had to deal with them. So hopefully this book will be able to allow someone to know that, see that, and make the change, and better their life in any way possible, you know.
That's very eloquent and beautiful. I was going to ask for students and others who may be at the beginning of their journey, what would you want them to know about truly being fireproof? I think you just answered that. So
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to be that person who is willing to dig deep inside themselves, and be willing to grind, have the grit and fortitude every single day to do something with what they love to do, and have blinders on, and just move forward with lightning speed, and have patience at the same time, and,
don't you
and
love the
just,
word grit? I just, I
oh, I
just,
love it.
oh
I love it.
gosh. I want your next restaurant to be called Grit.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
What is
Because that's what it
next?
takes. That is what it takes.
And,
I'm working on a
and I'm
lot of stuff
sorry
right
that I
now.
even say what's next because you're on your book tour. Give me a break. But I know
Well,
that there's more on the
there
horizon.
is more. I got a lot of stuff in the works, which I'm excited about. It'll come out soon. It'll come out soon.
I love it. I
Very
love it.
excited about the future of my world and, the world that we continue to build around here and surround myself with incredible, talented people. We're just moving forward. I'm really excited about the next chapter.
I'm so excited. We're gonna talk to Jack right before I got on the show, and I'll be reaching out to your people. We're gonna bring some folks in if you'll have us this fall and do some. Michelle Scoffy is coming over again, and
Beautiful.
he wants to go to Ever, so that's where we go. I'm not gonna
Fantastic.
let you go. I know it's a tough question because there really is so much more to dining, as you said, related to the people you're dining with. But the name of the show is The Ultimate Dish Chef. And so if you had to humor me,
Mm.
what is the ultimate dish today, anyway?
Today, let's see.
Black
The
garlic?
ultimate dish. Wow. We just changed the menu to tomatoes. I'm really loving this tomato dish, but I can't describe it because it seems so generic and basic. Tomato and basil brioche. I mean, it's so like, but it's far from of course, it's
Yeah,
far
yeah, yeah.
from generic and basic. It is in my style, of course. It is, 6 or 8 different tomatoes, all prepared differently. Um,
Oh,
Beautiful brioche that we make in house, so we turn into a custard. Oh, wow.
oh, a brioche custard. Oh my goodness. I don't want to take
Yeah,
away the secrets. Where in the lineup is it?
third dish in.
Third dish in. Look at
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah. It's
I
it's
can
it's
see it.
lovely. It's only on its second day, so we're still tweaking a little bit, but
Oh,
very excited for it.
I'm gonna take that. That's a great answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Chef, thank you for everything. Continued success. I'm going to see you on the 14th of August at the Boulder Bookstore. And then on the 15th, you'll be on campus here with a bunch of screaming fans. Please give everyone at the restaurant our best and, stay in touch. And thank you. I should say, anytime that I just people reach out to me, hey, I'm going to Ever. Can you put in a good word? And you humor me. I send you a text, and like Curtis is doing the reservations. Really, is that what
Yeah.
you guys think? I mean, come on.
That's all
But
right. That's all right.
you always respond, and I think the world of you, love you, and wish you
Thank
nothing
you.
but the best, buddy.
Thank you. Please give my best to everybody at the school. I miss seeing everybody there. It's been a long time since I've been back, but I'm really excited about Boulder and getting back to the school as well and seeing some familiar faces. And
We're ready for you. We're ready
thank
for
you.
you.
Thank you so much for bringing me back on for the third time, Kirk. I really appreciate it. And I truly, truly appreciate our friendship as well.
Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate
Pleasure.
you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Dish Podcast, brought to you by Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Visit escoffier.edu/podcast to find any materials mentioned during the podcast, including notes, links, and other resources. And if you can, please leave us a rating on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to support our show. This helps us reach more aspiring individuals ready to take the next step toward their dream careers. Thanks for listening.